Well, hello there. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I'm really excited for you guys because I'm going to be sharing with you guys, if you're an online service provider, how you really charge and price your service packages correctly so you're not quote unquote getting screwed over by a client ever again, but that you also make sure that the service packages are priced correctly. The 6.5 years now that I've run my marketing agency, Funnel Girl, I've gotten really good at it because we've done hundreds and hundreds of client projects in all kinds of different shapes and forms, right? So for the sake of my experience in this video, I'm going to walk you through an example of how we structure out and price out a sales funnel project. However, this video is really for any kind and every kind of service provider out there. So if you are an online website designer, if you are an audio engineer and help with podcasts, if you're a virtual assistant, if you're a social media manager, if you're a video editor, whatever it might be, okay? You can be any online service provider in any kind of professional or market or industry. And this video will be helpful to you because I will really walk you through some basics, especially if you're new or relatively more like a beginner in the industry and you're feeling kind of not at ease, you're not feeling like you're really charging your project correctly. There's almost always too much work that you have to be doing, or you find that you forgot to charge some stuff, whatever it might be. It's really important that you know how to charge your services correctly. And if you maybe are also a client or you are a person who are potentially looking into hiring an online service-based business owner, this video might be very interesting for you as well, because you might get some interesting insights. If, for instance, that freelancer or professional or agency really charged their packages correctly, you might be able to ask them some very interesting questions to shed some light into the thought process that went into the kind of pricing that you've received from them. So there's just a lot of moving pieces, and I really wanted to kind of like pull back the curtains and give you guys some insight into the most important things that you really have to think about. Okay, now long intro over. I would love for this video to be interactive for you. So grab a pen of paper, grab your notebook, open a Google document on your computer. I got my computer right here because I took very specific notes that I want to share with you. And so I would love for you guys to really kind of like follow suit. And whenever I'm asking you guys some questions and so on, I would love for you to just like take notes and also like answer them for your own professional, your own business, to really kind of get the most out of this video, okay? So let's get started. Okay, the reason why it's so confusing if you are either someone who wants to hire a service-based business owner or an entrepreneur or a freelancer, or you are on the other side of the spectrum and you really want to kind of charge your pricing or put together a package pricing, is because there is just such a layer of difference in terms of pricing out there, right? Like for instance, for an amazing, for instance, copywriter, so a kind of person that writes copy for your website, right? Writes your website sales page, writes an about page and so on, or emails that are going out to your clients. There's some copywriters out there that you can find, for instance, on Fiverr that are charging a few $100s for a job, where a very famous copywriter out there in the industry would probably charge $100,000 and more. So it just kind of like blows your mind because there's, like I said, such a wide spectrum of what you can charge for almost the same kind of service. And of course, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that you have to answer for yourself, meaning the experience that you've gotten, but not only your experience, what is sometimes very important as well, or more important, is the kind of transformation you're able to help your clients achieve, meaning what they are going to get out of you working with them and how much better their business, how much better their life is going to be because you have provided an amazing service and experience to them, right? And of course, time goes into this as well. Like how much time will it take you to do a certain thing? Is it an ongoing thing? Is it a one-time project thing like a website design and a coding? Or is it an ongoing thing like, for instance, maintenance, right? Tech maintenance or social media management, whatever it might be. So all these things are very important. Now, I'm going to get to my notes, right? Because it's really important that you ask yourself questions like, first of all, what services exactly are you providing for your potential client? How many hours do you think will it take you or your team to complete this task? How much is the completion of the project worth to the client in terms of business revenue, profits, that kind of stuff? And how much return also on investment are they able to get over what period of time? Is it something that might be able to really get them a return on investment for a lifetime, as long as they, for instance, let's say, pay for the domain? If it's a funnel, oftentimes for us, that's a fact. It's a return on investment forever, as long as they're running and maintaining the website. or is it something that is kind of like a one-on thing where the return on investment, like with maybe social media management for 3 months, is not as clear? You need to just get clear on those for yourself. Then does the client have money, right? What kind of client are you servicing? Are you servicing someone that is just getting started in their business and they're very hesitant to invest any kind of money usually, or bigger chunks of money into their hobby so far that is almost about to be a business? Or are they really a serious seasoned entrepreneur and a business owner that they know they want to have their problem solved and they want you to solve their problem, right? And they don't mind necessarily how much it costs as long as you're getting your job done. Then are you going to charge hourly, or are you going to charge per project or on a retainer? Which one of all of these options is maybe the better one? And I'm going to talk about this too in this video, so stay tuned. And is it like we said already before, is it a one-time project, or is it like an ongoing thing that you usually provide? Or maybe you have a layer of things, right? Maybe your offer suite is included where you have a one-off thing, but you also have an ongoing thing. And then how busy and booked out are you right now? Are you like, do people really knock on your door and want to work with you? That might be also a sign that you want to raise your prices. Or are you really having to kind of like quote unquote hunt down for clients? Or maybe you just gotten into the industry and you're just looking for experience, and then you just cannot like obviously charge as much as someone who really like knows the A's to C's of like that project, right, in that job. Okay, and asking yourself these questions, and I hope you jotted down already some notes or some thoughts, is just really important, because at the beginning of kind of working with a client, or even like hopping on a call with a potential client and having these questions in mind answered for you before, and then also clearing them up with your client, is just really crucial to really charge, a fair price that works for both parties. And then also I have to say, for the sake of this video, and just because I'm going to drop some numbers for you guys in US dollars, what is important as well, that you have to ask yourself, and it's just the world we live in, and this would be like another video where we could talk into anthropological, historical, economic facts or whatever not. But what is important as well is that when someone is going to hire you, they are going to look at where you might be living, right? So if you are maybe living, let's say in the Philippines, or maybe on Bali even, as opposed to say you're living in Manhattan, right, where living costs are drastically different, then they will take into account also what you're charging, right? And yes, there is an exception if people really want to come to you to knock on your door because you are just have really established yourself as a one-of-a-kind expert and you're just killing it out there. Then it doesn't matter as much, right? You can still charge a certain kind of price, but on average, for most cases, it is just really important that you keep that in mind, because I have seen that sometimes that there's some service providers or freelancers out there that are charging certain kind of amount of, let's say, US dollars, where I know for myself, also for my clients, we're kind of like wondering that it doesn't seem really quite fair. Also, of course, living costs because of like a number of other things, because maybe they haven't really gotten the social proof, the testimonials yet that we're looking for. There's just so many factors to it that you want to be really kind of aware of, and also I feel like realistic of, right? So just don't get too ahead of yourself, but I also want you to achieve your dreams. Obviously, that's why I also have this YouTube channel. But I just want to say, like, do it in a very also kind of like logical and strategic manner, right? Don't kind of jump ahead and try to kind of skip some very important steps, especially if you're a service-based business owner, because you do have to acquire the experience and you do need to get the job done and be really good at it. Next step in this video, I really wanted to walk you guys through of how much a custom, for instance, sales funnel project costs. And this might be really interesting because even if you are a social media manager or you're a website designer, or you are an audio engineer, video editor, you might get some very interesting insights into how we're structuring the projects. And what I think is really important, especially if you're in the digital marketing industry, that you're taking into account and how you're structuring out these kind of offers. For my team and I, like over the 6.5 years, we really focus on scheduling and implementing funnels for ClickFunnels, but also for Go High Level. It's two different marketing softwares that we specialize in. We're not creating any projects on lead pages or Build All or any of that, because we really specialized in those softwares and we've just gotten really good at it. And also because I personally believe in the softwares and also the founders and kind of like the functionalities for the clients, right? And what they can do. So yes, in case you are interested, I'm gonna drop some affiliate links, of course, in the description section. So if you're looking for a funnel marketing software right now, both of them are really awesome. I would say that Go High Level is especially great for service providers because there's just amazing stuff you could do with follow-up texting, reminders, all this kind of stuff, with a built-in CRM and other stuff. Whereas ClickFunnels is really great kind of like across the board, and you can host your courses and everything on that as well. So I have some free trials that you can check out if you're clicking on my link down below. Moving on, essentially our project range from about $5,000 up to $25,000. And that might seem a lot for you guys. Of course, I know already who my ideal clients is and how I want to attract them. But trust me, like when I didn't know yet, and sometimes I was hopping on a call in my early years of being in this industry with some potential clients, I was raised because they couldn't understand it, but I just knew already like what I needed to charge. So let me explain to you guys how this came to be, right? So the range is of course a very wide range, right? If you have $5,000 up to $25,000. One of the things that I'm really careful of, which I haven't done in the past, like for instance, in the past, I had very set service packages on my website. And I had, for instance, also this Canva PDF that I printed out and hey, these are my packages, right? So kind of like you following your Office suite, right? You have your low level package, your mid-level package, and your high level package. If you guys have any questions regarding that, drop a comment down below. I will record another video on this if you have a question, but otherwise this video is going to get a little too long and I wanted to keep it still condensed on what I want to share with you guys in this video. And I had this in the past, right? Really pretty, printed out, all this kind of stuff. Well, not printed out, it was digital, that I could send and attach to an email, right? And it's really helpful and goes fast. However, what I found was that especially when you're a service provider, where there's a bunch of fluctuations, right? Where maybe you're not working with one very specific niche client or in a very specific niche industry. And to give you an example, for instance, my husband, who's also a business owner, he is a digital marketer, but he only focuses on lead generation, a certain type of lead generation for a certain type of solar company in the US, based out of the US. So it's very specific and he only works with those people. He doesn't work with maybe roofers or any other kind of like service-based home automation industries. He only works with this kind of set of clients. So the pricing structure is very easy and simple, and you can really kind of like have one pricing, right? And you go with it because you already know what to expect and what the job is going to do. However, if you have kind of more a wider set of clients, maybe you're working and you're doing social media management for health coaches, then there is still a diverse set of range of health coaches you're going to be working with who are going to need slightly different variations within the services. If you have packages and you're locking yourself into the packages, the issue is that you're not pricing yourself and creating a custom service package, a la carte service package, if you want to call it like that, but you're not creating the best sort of like dish with the right ingredients, because you're going to miss out on some ingredients that is needed to achieve the most optimum transformation for this client, meaning be the best dish for the client ever, right? That they ever tasted. To use this kind of cooking metaphor, which just came to me. But I hope that makes sense. So that's something really important because I've seen so many people out there teach that to service-based business owners, even if you're coaches or consultants, and that you have like a super set of packages. And I feel like especially when there's some sort of service delivery involved in that package, there is a lot of different moving pieces. So you have to be really careful to not kind of lock yourself into something that is going to make you feel unhappy and underappreciated, because then of course also I feel like your delivery and the quality of your delivery is going to suffer. So a better way is that when you're hopping on a discovery call is to ask, of course, a bunch of questions your potential clients, right, your prospects, and then never say a specific number on the call, because the call is just to get to know you and to see if this is the kind of person that you want to be working with. If you're already dropping a number on the call because you kind of like are hesitant to kind of close that deal and make a sale on the call, to close another service package, then you might have some issues, because once you start diving into and really looking at everything that needs to get done to fulfill this service, then you're like, oh, hit. I didn't think of all of this, and now I told this prospect or my new client already this number, and it would be not a very good sign, or it wouldn't show high integrity if I changed it all of a sudden and added on $1,000 or something, right? So you kind of have to be really aware of that. So what I found is that on the calls, I just get myself a bunch of information, and then I can really kind of take some time and look into what is really needed, and then kind of let them know, maybe with a breakdown through an email, and then hop on potentially another call to kind of really talk it out, but just be really upfront of it. And of course, this is also provided that you really know which clients you want to work with. So you are hopping on the call with the right kind of clients. You're not hopping on the call with maybe the kind of clients that cannot really pay for your services, and then you're going to end up having some sort of negotiations or arguments with that potential client about the pricing. This is never fun. So you want to hop on the call with the right people. So again, if this is something of interest to you, I can record another video on giving you some tips on how you really can nail your lead generation and your positioning. But so far, like, I just wanted to put that out there to kind of like probably shy away from like having, like, have packages in mind for yourself and pricing structures. For instance, I know that kind of client that would want to have like a $5,000 funnel package, and the kind of client that would be at a $15,000 or $25,000 funnel package, and kind of like already how their business looks like, what their digital marketing landscape and social media landscape looks like, and the kind of revenue they're making already, the kind of revenue they want to hit, and all this kind of stuff, right? So based on that, and that comes from experience, of course, as well, but I already know, but I'm still like hesitant to ever say a full like exact number until I took the time to also talk to the client, asked all of my questions that I needed to ask, and then also go ahead and really kind of dive deeper and do a deep dive into their business to really see if there's anything I might be missing that I need to be charging for that wasn't discussed on the call. So just a little tip there. Now, another thing that's really important that I think we need to talk about is that most people's budget is probably that they have in mind for what they want to get done is actually 2 to 3 times lower than what it actually needs to be at to get the stuff done that they want to get done. So you really want to keep that in mind as well. And I think that's really important. So it's really important to kind of have this first kind of meet and greet kind of call, and then really understand what they want to get done, and then use the kind of like email, the long descriptive. You can add a Loom video as well, explaining stuff, but also have then the second follow-up call to really be there to explain to them that in order to get this done, this is what it takes and why it's probably higher than what they were initially thinking of, even if they are at the right client. So that's just something to put out there, right? Because they didn't think, hey, okay, it's 2 to 3 times more than I thought I would have to invest to get it done, doesn't mean that they are not going to really be an amazing client and sign for that higher price. But you have to kind of follow the structure correctly to really get to it. Another thing that takes a lot of time though, and now it's getting interesting. I hope you guys are still with me. Drop a comment down below if you are and listening until now. So, and to create a cost estimate, right? And to do all this deep dive into kind of like that work, right, that you need to be doing to give a correct cost estimate to your client, takes a lot of time for a lot of service providers. And a lot of them are nervous that if they're putting all this time into it, right, instead of having like just the packages, oh my God, like what if that person is not going to sign with me? Now I wasted so much time trying to create this perfect cost estimate that really works, but then they are going with someone else, right? So a reason to avoid this, and what I always like to do, is to create a service offer out of this cost estimate, right? So meaning that for us, for instance, I like to call it a deep dive funnel marketing analysis. And what I do there is, that's the one thing that I'm talking about too on the discovery call besides the meet and greet. And yes, I waited to add this as a layer to tell you guys, because I want you to pay attention still. Why I'm adding this as well is I created this as an offer, and you can create it as an offer. We're selling it very high already. We're selling it at $2,800 because it's something that's very important. And I'm also kind of really explaining to people, it's almost like when you're going to the doctor and you want to get like some relief for something hurts in your elbow. And I don't know why I'm using the elbow right now, right? But you want to figure out what's going on with your elbow. And all of a sudden the doctor, and you don't want the doctor to examine you. You don't want to have any tests taken. You're just pretty much telling them what goes on. But the doctor, he's not a foreseer, right? Do you see what I'm saying? There needs to get tests done. He might, like, I don't know, need to draw your blood Okay, right? Whatever it might be, do like a x-ray and so on to really figure out what's going on and to get to the gist of it. So that's essentially what I'm doing, and what I'm also explaining, my potential clients what I'm doing with this. And the cool thing is it is saving us time to not go ahead and have to do a custom cost estimate for free. No, because we're charging for it. I created a service offer out of it and I named it, I branded it with something. It looks really cool. They're getting a bunch of other stuff with it as well. And it's just really a great structure and a great way as a service provider to make sure that you are really not only onboarding a client in an amazing way, but you really are going to charge exactly for everything, and you're going to account for any and everything for that package. And this is just like amazing, right? And then of course, if people are doing that cost estimate, that service offer package with you, you're going to give them a discount on your next services that you're going to add to the document, right? So it's like you're really killing two birds. That's such a weird metaphor, but yeah, you're killing several birds with one stone. I hope you jotted this down right and made a note of it. Okay, and just in case you're wondering, and I'm looking at my notes right now, what is all included in such a cost estimate, or all this work that goes in, and why I'm charging for it. If you want some more explanation with an email later on, it's because we're doing market research, competitor research, existing social media landscape analysis, over existing and potential traffic analysis, target audience research, and analysis, which is two different things, coming up with ideas for testing potential, copy hooks, marketing hooks, messaging hooks, taking inventory of like the assets, how we would structure out the office suite better to get higher conversion, what can be optimized with the existing landscape to really profit once we add on to a new funnel to like the whole overall digital marketing landscape, deciding on a funnel strategy, and so on and so on. So it's really in depth and very deep, and that's why we're charging a certain kind of price. But if you're just starting out, maybe you charge it at $250, something like that, and you can go up to, I know friends in the industry who are charging up to $5,000 for a certain kind of cost estimate, and you will have practice then on the discover calls and get better at closing these kind of like cost estimate packages. But it's going to change your business, trust me. And if you're doing it, I want you to tell me, shoot me an email or comment down below if you found this helpful and how it's working out for you. Okay, another thing that's important is and how you want to sell yourself, your service offers, or if you're looking to hire for a service. What is important is kind of like also to determine what you are. So meaning, are you a freelancer? Are you kind of like a small agency, mid-sized agency, a big-sized agency, right? All this kind of stuff. It's just very, very important to really determine that, because there's several reasons for that, right? Oftentimes when you're freelancer, the clients, and this is becoming really important for you because you can address this in your sales process and kind of up your closing rate. Mine is very high. Just to say that. But so it's really important that, for instance, when you're just a freelancer, usually prospects are afraid of, and they won't say that, there might be the risk that you're disappearing. Whereas if they're going to think about it like really like a name brand agency where there's 200 people working there, then they know the main issue that they have to deal with is that their contact partner, so the touch person that they talk with about their project, might change, and then it gets a little bit confusing, communication issues maybe, and it might take much longer. Freelancers usually are much faster. But all of these stuff, like what is important as well, I think, when it comes to pricing your services, but also really upping your sales process and kind of charging higher at times for your services, is that you really understand the opportunity costs of what you are, if you're a freelancer or an agency. So if there's a team that you have to employ that is working underneath you, or you have contractors that you need to pay and that kind of stuff, you need to keep all of this in mind. And you also need to understand the potential pitfalls that clients will keep in mind when it comes to hiring you, but also the potential advantages, and then really use them also to your advantage, right? And then also use them to also justify some of the pricing, which is important, right? Of course, if you're curious right now, and this is literally across the board, But I wanted to give you some really interesting estimates, especially when it comes to the digital marketing industry. And you can do this, by the way, if you are a social media manager or you are a VA or whatever, you can go ahead and do this kind of research yourself. You're using, for instance, freelancing websites, or you can use and really Google for big name VA agencies, and you can get some ideas on pricing, and then you can get some ideas of where you want to position yourself. So let me give you some examples which might be really interesting when it comes to freelancer rates and you're looking at hourly rates. So beginner freelancers might charge between $25 to $40 an hour, intermediate ones $40 to $75 an hour, good experienced freelancers $75 to $125 an hour, excellent in-demand freelancers $125 to $175 an hour, and specialists, so really the best of the best in the industry, $175 to $400 per hour. If you're going off of agency rates, then you have small market general agencies are $50 to $75 an hour, medium market sized agencies are $75 to $115 an hour. Reputable medium-sized agencies, $115 to $150 an hour. Then we are going to the medium market best in the industry agencies are $175 to $225 per hour. Large market best in the industry agencies are charging $200 to $275 an hour. And when I say best in the industry, that usually really means that the customers, not only is the experience amazing, but they're able to crush it in terms of like ROI for their businesses. So meaning that, for instance, they are the kind of like people that when you work with them and you hire them for their service, it's going to dramatically improve your business, right? Which is an amazing, right, effect that you can have when you hire out or when you are a service provider. So you really want to get to this level of when people work with you that you just have so many raving social proof and testimonials on your social media sites, on your websites and whatever not, that you're going to be always in demand because people cannot wait to work for you. So if there's anything that I want to like share here as well, what's so important to really make sure you can nail the kind of pricing that you are asking for an offer is that you have a ton of social media reviews. The more the better. And it's also important that you have your past clients talk about the results that you were able to achieve for them. If they can get videos as well, it's going to usually convert higher, meaning into people are going to trust you more if they see video reviews from past clients than when they see a snippet of text, just because it can be more pretty much faked than if you have videos. So just something else that you need to add to your whole, that's one of the moving cycles that I talked about, is that you need to add to really be able to charge accordingly. Now, another thing that's interesting is that the client is a huge cost factor in the price. What kind of client it is. You might not think about it. You might only be looking at, hey, this is the kind of work that needs to be done. So this is the service that needs to be provided. However, you need to really take the client into account also in what you want to maybe add on to the moving pieces that I talked about before that you might forget, that might slip through your cracks, and they usually come through the client. You might not think about that, but it's true. Okay, so there's a number of things that are really important, right? So we call it the client multiplication factor. And in the years, we've worked with a ton of clients before, and there's good, terrible clients, very good clients, and amazing clients. And some of the stuff really that the clients don't do throughout the service delivery can really cost a lot of money and time, and you have to take this into factor. So some of the questions that you want to ask yourself if you want to charge a premium for maybe working with that kind of client, and yes, you can be transparent about this as well. You can say it's project management cost, which is something very normal. Like if you have a $15,000 project, then usually, agencies will charge as well $3,000 in project management costs, because project management is crucial in order to move a project along and make sure it's really delivered to best of its capabilities. But a few of the things you want to ask yourself is, does the client, for instance, have one point of contact, or are there several layers or hoops you have to jump through to get an answer for the client? And this will dramatically increase the time that it takes for a service to be delivered. Does the client have to get a committee? For instance, if he's in the financial industry, does he have to get some sort of approval that will take forever? Is the client contact not decisive? Do they constantly change their mind, meaning that you constantly have to do edits? you can usually tell this on a call already, on a discovery call, and you have to put this into the contract because otherwise you're going to be miserable. Does the client have problems decision making? How long does it take them to make a decision? Do they pay on time, or have you noticed that they're paying really bad? And then do you probably want to not just send out an invoice and wait until they paid, but make sure you put them on some sort of automated payment system so that you don't have to wait for payments all the time? Or is the client, for instance, that kind of type of person that is sending you essay long emails, or are the emails super short and to the point? Like, all of these things fall into account and just important into keeping in mind the kind of cost for a service project. So I hope with this point as well, I gave you some ideas, because most service providers don't think about it. And it's usually the big source of the unhappiness in their business that can be avoided. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is if it's like big projects, right? Let's say it's complete coding of an entire like website system. What is very helpful as well is to break down these huge projects into smaller projects and to charge based on these smaller projects, to also stay organized and on track with like just getting the stuff done. When it comes to funnels, we do this a lot as well. And then a question that comes into play is the amount of also like the work that needs to be done is not always like the deciding factor for the pricing, because oftentimes if you have a certain kind of funnel that's just a 3-step funnel, it could be even more complex and complicated to get everything right than if it's just a very easy 5-step funnel, course sale funnel, something like that, right? Then when it's like a 3-step SaaS launch, funnel, something like that, there's just really discrepancies. And most freelancers think they look at like, these are all the hours of work it takes me, whereas they forget to keep in mind really the end transformation is more important. So even though I'm hearing that they only need 3 pages built, for instance, instead of 5 pages, you think probably 5 takes more than 3 pages. But then if you're really going deeper and you're thinking about, okay, this is actually what I need to be doing and what they have in place to get this transformation, and 3 steps are going to be much more difficult than the 5 one that's very clear and to the point. You have to keep this in mind as well, and not just go on based on kind of the service level work, but really make sure to always go deeper and understand and keep like the end transformation, what the client really wants in mind, and kind of price from that perspective and not necessarily from the service level work perspective. I hope that gave you a tip too. And if you're curious and let's say you are in the digital marketing space or you want to move into that and you want to have more specific things answered on much more in detail, structure out different funnel types and price them and that kind of stuff, I did write an article on exactly this topic on my blog a while ago, so you can check it out as well. There's a link to my blog, to this particular article, in the description section as well. So head on over there, because otherwise I could talk the whole day, and I doubt you want to probably watch a video or have the time to watch a video the whole day. So just be sure to head on over there. All in all, I want to say that pricing is kind of like an art and a science, right? Yes, it is confusing to a point that it is subject to interpretation, but also there is a science behind it. And I hope I gave you guys really like a bunch of tips and tricks and insights and aha moments from this video that you can take into your own business, however big or small it is right now, and really take it to grow further. And if you're a client, or if you are looking, you're a client who is looking to hire for a service, I hope I gave you guys some ideas into how to know if this service is structured out pricing wise accordingly, and if the person seems legit and all this kind of stuff. If you have any questions, as always, drop a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you liked what I shared with you today, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.